Nick Shaxson at taxjustice.net put up an article on why taxation is not theft, titled, "No, It's Not Your Money. Why Taxation Isn't Theft." I will put a link to this article below. Here is my review. It's a guest blog by Philip Goff. "No, It's Not Your Money. Why Taxation Isn't Theft." Many political arguments start from the assumption that taxation is the government taking our money off us. When austerity hit the arts in 2011, austerity is when trillions don't go to something. Dr. Steve Davies of the pseudo think tank Institute of Economic Affairs argued on Channel 4 News, a mainstream UK television current affairs program, that the 20% cut to the arts didn't go far enough. Look at the amount of art funding that people voluntarily give when they travel all across the planet to go to Italy, to go to Paris to see wonderful art. You don't need the state to coercively fund these things. Every movie theater is the arts voluntarily funded. Art funding should be entirely abolished on the grounds that it's unfair to take people's money off them by force to pay for something they might not want, is the argument Dr. Steve Davies made. Again and again, the economic right stroke resentment at the state allegedly taking what's ours by force, and use this resentment to build support for a program of small government. Well, I agree that small government is bad. And they use it to stroke resentment. Notice it's not a legitimate argument. It's just someone using it as a means to an end. So because they have a motive, we don't really even need to go into it, but he will. But even those who believe in a relatively big government tend to share this understanding of taxation as the appropriation by government of our money. Again, in quotes, our money. He's getting ready to take it away when he puts it in quotes. That means it's not really yours. Like, if I said, a woman thinks she has a right to her body, the feminists would go crazy. If I said black people think they have a right not to be a slave, you get what I'm about to say. Most on the economic left start from the assumption that it is, all things being equal, a bad thing that the state takes our money from us, but hold that it is prima facie bad and is justified by the public goods which taxation makes possible. That taxation makes possible. He's not recognizing the fact that in the absence of taxation, these things could exist. It would be like saying cotton picking was made possible by slaves. Well, we got the cotton gin. There's 100 ways to produce something without initiating violence to achieve that end. Well-meaning UK public intellectual Alan D. Botton encourages us to think of taxation as charity. Of course, he's an absolute psycho. He wants us to think of slavery as employment. He wants you to think of theft as charity. Complete contradiction in terms. If you don't pay a charity, no one comes to your house with a gun coming to put you in a cage. You can voluntarily give off your computer, your cell phone, make a call with a credit card, send in money through the mail. There's 100 ways to voluntarily give to charity. So he's already conflated voluntarism with coercion. Think of rape as lovemaking. Nope. So both sides tend to agree that one has some kind of right or entitlement to one's pre-tax income. Some kind of right. So it's not like we even have a strong stance on where the right, the libertarians, the taxation, the theft people, we don't even have a solid ideology. We just have some kind of entitlement. And notice that he uses the word entitlement as if we're being selfish. We're saying, oh, it's mine, like we're greedy children. He's not greedy by wanting to take the money by force. We're greedy for wanting to keep our own. The slave who escaped in the Underground Railroad was super greedy. The slave master was just trying to lower the price of cotton and bring cotton to the masses. The economic right believe that the right to pre-tax income is inalienable, or at least that it is trumped only by the absolute necessity of providing the basic requirements of society, such as roads and rule of law. Oh my God! Again, food and shelter are much more important than those things. You die within a couple days of not having those. Those are privately funded. Just walk into any grocery store, all the labels are private. So just because we need something, we need cars to get around, doesn't mean the state should monopolize the car making industry and fund it through coercion. And also, he's already saying the state has a right to do this. Well, why does the state have that monopoly of a right? Do I have the right to say, give me your money or I'm going to put you in a cage, the money's going to a road? If I don't have the right, I can't vote for a congressman to do that on my behalf, even if it's necessary. Even if food is necessary for life, I don't have the right to say, I'm going to start food producing. Give me your money or I'm going to put you in a cage. I'm going to shoot you if you resist. Voluntarize everything. In contrast, the economic left tend to value the good of making society more equal. Okay, I'm halfway through a sentence and I gotta stop. The left believes in equality. You're already saying the state, in America, a group of 535 individuals have the right to monopolize taxation. No one else has this right. Out of 330 million Americans, only 535 have that right. And you believe in equality? They get to take money by force. You have to obey them, and you believe in equality? Is it unequal that taxjustice.net gets more readers than I do? Don't you believe in equality? Shouldn't the state force people to watch my YouTube videos or read my articles online? No, of course not. Paul Krugman has a lot more readers than I do. Do I have the right to force people to read my stuff and stop reading his to make things more equal? Of course not. And also, North Korea is more equal than America, but people aren't generally wealthier. So equality, in the sense of dollars in your bank account or net worth, is not in and of itself morally justified. The good of making society more equal, or of providing a basic standard of living for all, this is like reading Mao's Great Leap Forward before it was enacted. Above the good of letting people keep their own money. He doesn't even justify that the state is capable of doing this. He says, if the state takes the money, they'll probably do it. Okay, so if the state taxes us and doesn't provide a basic standard of living, then is taxation unjustified? No, of course not, because they have a monopoly. Or else he'd say, and if the tax dollars don't go to that, then people can stop paying. He just says, you have to pay it. Here's what they might do with some of the money. Therefore, you have to pay it. This feeling, it's a feeling. See, you don't engage in any thought. It's a feeling you have. Just like you might get angry, sad, happy, emotional. It's just a feeling that you have. This feeling that your pre-tax income is your money, again in quotes, is difficult to shake. Ooh, difficult to shake. So we're just strong in our stance. We're not open-minded and progressive and able to get new ideas. We're really difficult to shake. He doesn't say it's immoral. He doesn't say it's illogical. He just says difficult to shake. It's hard not to see the pre-tax figure on your payslip as representing what's really owing to you for the work you've done, and hence to feel that the state is taking away from you something that is yours by right. Not a bad sentence. However, a little careful reflection, just a little. So the idea is so bad, just a little reflection shows that the idea is unjust. Let's see if it is. A little reflection shows this almost universal assumption to be utterly confused. Oh, confused. There's no sense in which you have a right to your pre-tax income. I have a right to my pre-tax income because I own myself. I own myself because, with regard to others in society, I have the greatest claim to my body. So when I mix my body with things others have produced, when I go to where I work, commit my labor hours to working for them, they voluntarily give it to me. Therefore, I have the right to exclude others from accessing that because I have the greatest claim by voluntarily uh, acquiring something that was previously someone else's. To see this, we have to ask what kind of right it might be to suppose one has to one's pre-tax income. As I explained before, Hans Hermann Hoppe has explained this years ago. Murray Rothbard does an excellent job of explaining self-ownership and private property rights for further inquiries to those. Presumably, it is either a legal right or a moral right. Once we separate out these alternatives, we can see that the former option is incoherent, whilst the latter is utterly implausible. So, yes, I agree there's a difference between a legal and a moral right. Legally, you do not have a right to your own tax. Legally, according to the Fugitive Slave Act of 1791 and 1850, you did not have the right to run away if you were a slave. That doesn't justify it. You clearly don't have a legal right to your pre-tax income, as you are legally obliged to pay tax on it. This is a simple analytic truth that follows from the definition of taxation. Agreed, legally, you don't have a right to it. People who don't take pay, their taxes go, or at least legally ought to go, to gold. I'm reading right off the thing. What he means is, I'm not sure what that meant. So, if there's a general right to one's pre-tax income, then it must be a moral right. Correct. But it is implausible to suppose that each person has a moral right to his or her pre-tax income, for that would imply that the distribution of pre-tax income the market happens to throw up is perfectly just, and this is clearly not the case. All right. So, uh, perfectly just. Nothing is perfect, so by him saying X is not perfect, he's just attributing something that exists to all things. But he's about to justify why that imperfection justifies theft. No, it's not perfect at all. Some people deserve things that they don't get. That doesn't give you the right to initiate violence against people who do have things. I think there's a ton of nice guys who deserve really good looking girlfriends. Doesn't mean they get to initiate force against them. I think a lot of good looking guys have girlfriends they don't deserve. That doesn't give me the right to initiate violence against the guy or the girl to stop that relationship from going on. I don't think this article deserves a goddamn reader, but I don't have the right to initiate violence to stop the interaction from happening. So just because something is unjust does not give you the right to initiate violence to redistribute said wealth. There is no justice in the fact that the pre-tax income of a city banker is many hundreds of times the pre-tax income of a scientist working on a cure for cancer. About 60 to 70% of diseases are diet related in America. And that means that people don't really care about their health. Go to a McDonald's, people are eating there. They don't really care about their health. So if people really cared about their health, they would fund these cancer curing societies much more. They don't have to. You don't have the right to force them to do something. Many people still smoke cigarettes, knowing it's bad for you. They still buy pack after pack after pack. So this idea that, well, people just want to be healthy, according to their decisions that they have all this information on, they obviously don't. It is up to them. It might be better to exercise than to watch Family Guy, but you don't have the right to initiate violence to get me to stop watching Family Guy and to exercise, for the same reason you don't get to initiate violence against me to stop funding a city banker and allocate my money towards cancer cures. Also, maybe if an organization hasn't come up with a cure after 20 years of research, you want to stop funding them. They don't deserve to be funded then. It's all up to you. He's just saying that their intention is to do something, therefore they should get more money. What if they don't do it? My intention is to grow food. Give me money whether I do it or not, because I deserve more than some city banker. Well, not if the city banker gets more money voluntarily than I do. This is just an accident. Ooh, it's an accident. See, it's not something that anyone intends. Like when you go to the store and exchange money for a good, that's just an accident, according to this dumb shit. No, it's not an accident. It's individuals intentionally allocating their dollars here as opposed to over there. No accident at all. This is just an accident of the way our market economy is structured. To hold that each person has a moral right to their pre-tax income would be to hold that the market economy just happens to deliver each person exactly what they deserve, and this is clearly not the case. I don't think Rush Limbaugh deserves any listeners. I think I deserve a lot more listeners. I don't have the right to initiate violence to achieve that end. Bottom line. Same thing goes with literally every single other sector. Same thing with Bill Maher. I can't believe that shit show is still on. Perhaps there are specific cases in which a person happens to deserve their pre-tax income. These would be rare and happy coincidences in which the market happens to deliver exactly what is deserved. See, by using the word exact, it allows him to pick apart little things or little details that might not be perfect, which nothing is. So, does government tax the exact amount? Therefore, taxation's unjustified. The perfect amount, everyone's taxed the exact amount, doesn't give you, that's not an argument against taxation just because it's not perfect. Taxation is theft. That's the argument. But the mere fact that your pre-tax income is X pounds or dollars does not entail that in any morally significant sense you are entitled to X amount of pounds, dollars, currency. The money the market happens to throw at you is not necessarily the money you deserve, happens to throw. So again, it's just an accident that you get it. So because it's just an accident that some people have some, he's going to justify forcibly taking it away. It's just an accident. Brad Pitt is good looking, and that people want to see his movies. So now I get to force people to watch my movies, and I have to stop people forcibly from watching his, because it's just an accident. He got that face and I got this one. Doesn't justify the initiation of aggression. No doubt you have worked hard for that money. No doubt you have made a contribution to the public. You have special talents others lack, etc. But others also work hard / are talented / make a contribution. And the market has not taken these morally significant factors into consideration in working out what to give to whom. I don't see how that sentence justifies the argument. For better or worse, it is almost certainly not fair that you have what you have relative to what others have got. I agree. There are a lot of people who inherit money, who get raises they don't deserve. That does not justify you initiating aggression to confiscate their property. I have a lot more stuff than people in Bangladesh and Guatemala and Haiti. That does not give them the right to take my things by force. It is. Ooh, here's where we get into the solution to this accidental market problem. It is the responsibility of lawmakers then not to respect pre-tax incomes, but to disrespect pre-tax incomes. Whew. Now, uh, did the politicians get there accidentally? Are the politicians worthy of every single vote they've ever gotten? No. Is the public perfectly informed? No. So his own arguments delegitimize the state's rule of law and legislation making. So the same arguments he uses against taxes also apply to government. Therefore, the argument falls flat on its face. Insofar as the market fails to yield a just distribution of incomes, the state should work to correct that distribution. What about the distribution of political power? Some psychopath gets to make executive orders? What if I wrote down, the military has to invade Ukraine? They don't do that. How is that a fair distribution? Congress gets to do things no one else gets to. Is that a fair distribution? So he's obviously not worried about distribution or equality or that which is just. He's just trying to justify the violence he initiates. Of course, to some degree, the scope for such correction will be limited by economic realities. The pragmatic argument between right and left as to the relationship between tax levels and incentives to work or invest is a perfectly sensible one. Notice he doesn't say taxes are then justified at 1% or 100%. He just says it's unjust. Well, if I unjustly get something, according to him, he has the right to take 100% of it. But it is crucial to distinguish the pragmatic argument of the economic right, we must lower taxes in order to encourage investment, from the moral argument of the economic right, we must lower taxes in order to give people more of their money. I completely agree with that. The former argument is based on an empirical claim which stands or falls with the data, and that's why I don't use it as much, because the data can be manipulated, liars figure, and figures lie. The latter argument is based on a wholly confused notion that there is something morally significant about the distribution of incomes the market happens to have thrown up. Again, thrown, accident, unjust. By claiming it's an accident, he's taking away the moral legitimacy you have to your property. Thus, he's going to justify using violence to take it away because it's not yours, just an accident. If something falls from the sky and lands on your house, you didn't earn it. That's what he's comparing this to. Your pre-tax income isn't the money you deserve. It's the money the amoral market has gifted you. The amoral market, as opposed to the moral government, which survives off initiating violence against peaceful people. Yeah, the market is moral because when people voluntarily exchange, they only do so because they will be wealthier having engaged in said exchange. Therefore, wealth is created by more voluntary transactions. Therefore, the market is moral. To say the market is immoral is to say there's no difference between life, death, cancer, not having cancer, rape, lovemaking. It's just all whatever you think at that time. No, it is inherently moral, voluntarily trading your goods and services for what you believe makes you wealthier. That's the purpose of society, to increase wealth while remaining moral. A government may have cause to respect the whims of the market as a matter of practical necessity, but the state has no moral reason to respect the whims of the market. I have no moral whim to respect the decisions made by people in what they choose to buy, what they choose to sell, who they choose to marry. This is absolutely incredible. Any politician who thinks it is a good thing in and of itself to give people more of their money is confused. No, Philip Goff, you are confused. You believe that just because some things aren't perfectly just, one group of people then justly has a monopoly on the right to initiate violence to give a greater group what they believe is more equal. This argument is morally unjustified, as I've shown time and time again through each sentence. Please share this video so the confusion can stop. Taxation is theft. Thank you for watching. Keith and I don't tread on anyone.